Mom, I want this now.
No, dear, I can't afford it right now.
You're the worst mom in the world. You never buy me anything I want because you hate me. I was only 9 years old, but those words were enough to make my mom start crying in the toy store. She had taken me there to buy me something small because I had gotten an A+ on my math test. But I didn't want something small. I wanted this super cool remote control car, which was really expensive apparently. I was too little to know about prices. My mom grabbed my hand and walked outside. We were walking home when we were approached by a kind-looking old lady. I don't even think my mom knew her, but I'll always remember what she said to me. Your mom loves you very much, but you won't know that until you actually spend a day in her shoes. Try doing that, and I'm sure you'll be a lot kinder in the future. And I did get to do that, and a whole lot more. But you'll need to keep watching to find out what. Before falling asleep that night, I tossed and turned and kept thinking about her words. I wondered what it would be like to wake up as another person and to live their life. Now, you know when you're little, you think that wishes come true and all that stuff, so I actually said to myself before I closed my eyes, tomorrow, I wish I could live my mom's life. The next morning, I woke up feeling weird. I walked into my mom's room and she was gone. But then I looked at my hands and legs and realized I looked really different. And why was I wearing nail polish? I went to look in the mirror and I saw my mom looking back at me. No way, I really had become her. But it was weird because suddenly I had no control over the things she said and did. It was like I was living inside her, but she was still in control of everything she was doing. The only thing was that she seemed to forget that I existed. She only prepared breakfast for herself, then left for work. My mom worked as a waitress at a fancy restaurant, which she never took me to, so I was happy to see what it looked like. But her coworkers treated her horribly, and her boss was the worst.
You're working too slowly, Sandra. You're completely useless. Why don't you try be better? I'm not paying you to be a complete nincompoop.
I'm so sorry, sir.
My mom ran to a storage room and started crying. I felt the tears run down her cheeks and began to feel really sad too. Then, the only person who was her friend at work, a guy named Gareth, opened the door and tried to comfort her.
Don't worry about the boss. You know he's a jerk.
But he always makes me feel so horrible. I wouldn't stay here if it weren't for Josiah. But he thinks I hate him because I can't buy expensive toys. I am really trying my best, and it hurts so much that he thinks I don't like him. I've been looking for another job, but I've had no luck so far.
Don't worry, hon. Things will work out. By the way, would you like to go out with me on Friday night?
I can't. I'm sorry. I don't have anyone to watch Josiah.
Okay, well, let me know if anything changes. I'd love a chance to take you out.
That night, she went to bed and I fell asleep too. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed as myself. I went straight to my mom's room and gave her a big hug. She seemed a bit surprised.
Are you okay, baby?
I don't think you hate me, Mom. I'm sorry I behaved like that at the toy store. I'll try to be nicer. I love you and everything you do for me. She held me tightly and smiled. And, can I sleep over at Gerald's house on Friday night?
Sure, but I'll have to ask his mom.
Great. Gerald was my best friend, and I decided that it'd be good for my mom to go out with someone. Gareth seemed pretty cool. My dad left when I was born, and I didn't even remember what the guy looked like. Don't I sound really mature for a 9-year-old? Anyway, apparently all I had to do was wish to switch bodies with someone, and I could. Sometimes I'd do this just for entertainment, to see what their lives were like. But as time went by, I learned how to control the people whose bodies I possessed. I guess the universe knew why it chose me to receive this power, because another person could really use this for the worst things. One time, I switched bodies with the class bully Henderson, and because I could control him, I made him do all sorts of embarrassing things in front of everyone. But then I went to his house, and I really regretted it. His parents were mean to him, and he seemed really sad and lonely. So when I switched back to my own body, I tried to be nice to him. No one knew what I could do until I told my best friend Gerald one day. We were already in our second year at high school.
Dude, I'm really freaking out about the physics test tomorrow.
Oh, I took that class last year, and the tests were easy peasy.
Boasting about your intelligence doesn't really help my situation right now, Josiah.
I think I know how I can help, but you have to promise not to tell anyone.
Cheating?
No. Well, sort of. I don't know. I explained that I could switch bodies with others and that I could do the test for him. At first he cracked up laughing, but started looking serious when he realized that I wasn't laughing too.
Bro, you're serious?
Yes, I'll show you tomorrow. So Gerald got a 96 on his physics test, and reality set in that his best friend was some kind of superhero.
Dude, you can do so many things with this power.
I've been doing many things already.
Hey, you know what? I need help with something. You know I've had a crush on Roxanne for a while now. What if you could live her life for a while? Find out what her family is like, what hobby she has, maybe read her diary if she has one? Then I'd have a better idea of what I should do or say to get her to feel the same way about me.
That's weird as hell, but okay. We waited until Roxanne was leaving cheerleading practice one afternoon. She was walking alone and I went up to her and started making conversation. Then it was done. I was living her life. Her parents came to pick her up, so I got into the car. I tried not to control her. I was just supposed to be an observer. Her parents were really nice, and when we got to her house, she went straight to hug her brother and sister. They looked like they were about 5 years old, and they were so adorable. She went to her room and did some boring girl stuff for a while, then she turned on her laptop and started talking to her friends. I could read everything she was typing, and I figured this would help me to learn a lot more about her. She opened up an old conversation she'd been having with her best friend, Lola, and what I read left me speechless. Lola.
I think you should just tell him.
Roxanne.
I'm afraid. What if he doesn't feel the same way?
Lola.
But you've been head over heels for him since elementary school. I think you gotta put on your big girl pants and just tell him.
Roxanne.
I'll talk to Josiah next week. Hopefully, he'll ask me out.
What? All this time Gerald was crushing on Roxanne, she was busy crushing on me. How was I gonna handle all of this? I made her fall asleep, then I got back into my own body and escaped from the house. That night, she was all I could think about. I browsed through her Instagram pictures and realized that she was actually quite pretty, funny, and interesting. And maybe I had had feelings for her all along, but I just kept them to myself because of Gerald. The next day, Gerald bumped into me near the school's entrance.
You're back. So what did you find out?
Not much. She's pretty boring. I think you should consider the other girls out there.
No, she's the girl of my dreams.
At that moment, she walked by. She made eye contact with me and I smiled, then looked back at Gerald, hoping he hadn't noticed. Something shifted in me, and I realized that I'd never had a relationship, and I didn't believe that any girl could be even remotely interested in me. I decided that I'd try to persuade Gerald to dislike Roxanne, and I'd pursue her instead. After school that day, I told Gerald I had to rush home. I pretended to leave, but I actually waited until Roxanne finished cheerleading practice. When she walked out, I approached her. Hey Roxanne, how was your day?
Great. Thanks for asking.
She seemed a bit nervous. I was thinking, would you like to go out with me this Saturday?
I'd love that.
I'll pick you up at 6. I smiled and walked away.
Wait, how do you even know where I live?
She asked, but I was too far away to reply by then. I know this seems awful, but I was hoping that Gerald would understand because he was my friend. Big surprise, he didn't. When Roxanne and I became an item, he refused to talk to me for a while. 10 years have passed since then. Now Roxanne is my fiance and Gerald doesn't really like me much anymore. But I'm hoping that we can still be friends in the future. You might be wondering what I did with my ability. Although I was really smart, I decided I didn't want to go to college because my mom couldn't afford it, and I didn't want to go into debt. So I started a detective agency, and I've solved 100% of my cases successfully. I have the best reputation in the country, and nobody has a clue how I do it. I solved some serious cases involving dangerous criminals. It was interesting to live their lives for a while, but after seeing all the horrible things they did, I felt better when I turned them into the police. Then I deal with milder cases, like cheating husbands and kids who pretend to be good at home but are actually dreadful at school. I charge a ton of money for my services because I know I'm great at what I do. Roxanne and I are getting married next month, by the way. Do you think I should invite Gerald to the wedding?